Hi, I'm Robbie Lawler.
What's up, Fight family? This is your favorite MMA coach, Thiago Alves, the Pitbull.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Pedro Munoz.
This is Mike Brown.
Guys, I am Alexei Olenik. And welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And this is We Want Picks.
And you're watching We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks. Hi, everybody from American Top Picks.
My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. Jacob and I are going to break down the entire UFC Long Island fight card. We're going to give you our picks, our bets, and our fantasy plays. And if you want 50 free bucks to really kickstart your weekend, go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners, make a deposit, and we send you 50 bucks. It's literally that simple. We have 5 different betting partners. They all offer their own promos, bonuses, and matches. And then on top of that, after you sign up and make a deposit, I send you 50 bucks. PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, however you want it. And Jakey Boy's celebrating over here. I don't know why you're like, oh, NASA, that's stupid as shit.
Because my picks are out of this world, Angelo. Get a clue.
All right, solid.
Picks are out of this world.
Solid return. Anybody who doesn't know, Jacob went 11-0 last week. One of the trickiest cards of the week. I saw you guys hemming and hawing afterwards. The lost money. Somehow, Jacob went 11-0 on his picks.
I don't like that word somehow, Angelo, because I do my research. I watch film on every fight, so it's not lucky. It's not somehow. I do it, and I've been consistent for 8 weeks. Can we get a like on the stream right now for 11-0? I appreciate it. Let's get in this card because I'm confident again. I'm pretty confident again. I like this card.
Listen, I'm probably your biggest hater, but obviously we do this together, so I'm glad your picks were good. And I disagree with the Michael Johnson decision, but it was close enough. It's not a robbery. Great job in your picks. I genuinely am hoping you can repeat that success, but I already know you and I disagree on a few of these. So let's jump in. And Bo, talking about our graphics are the best in the game. They are. You know how long it took me to find the perfect Long Island backdrop for these graphics? So thanks for noticing, Bo. We do it for you. We do it.
That's
for
you.
That's
my second OnlyFans name is the Long Island.
Okay. Opening up UFC Long Island, we have Jessica Penne taking on UFC newcomer Emily Ducote. Jessica Penne is 14-5 overall, 2-3 in her last 5, and she is riding a nice 2-fight win streak since her time away from the cage. Emily Ducote is 11-6 overall, 4-1 in her last 5, and she's riding a 3-fight win streak into her UFC debut. Jessica Penne's been fighting since 2006. That's almost 16 years of experience. And during that time, she's picked up skills along the way, and she's become pretty well-rounded. She's not great at any one thing, but she does have okay boxing, solid grappling, and again, she's a well-rounded fighter. She took a 4-year layoff in 2017, but she's come back since then, and she put together 2 wins in the UFC. Her first win was a bad decision over Lupita Godinez, where she was taken down 3 times and outstruck. So I completely disagree with her first win, but her second win was a very solid one. It was a submission over Karolina Kovacevic, where she actually looked pretty good. Emily Ducote stepping in on 6 weeks' notice, so it's not necessarily short notice, but she is stepping up and making her UFC debut. But don't let the debut part fool you. She's got plenty of experience in larger organizations. She's got 8 fights in Bellator. She became the Invicta champion after a few fights there as well. Style-wise, she's a slick counter striker with legitimate power for the division and very good wrestling. She's durable and she's accurate. What she does really well is just throw straight punches and come right down the middle. So if you want to play an outside game, looking to, pick your shots and then throw some looping ones, she is going to throw something straight up the middle, tag you, and then move out of the way. I'm not a big trend person. I don't believe in the trends. Like, you guys have heard me rail the Dana White Contender Series fade. I'm not a big fan of like curses or any of that nonsense. I just believe in watching tape, taking notes, and just bringing legitimate analysis. But with that being said, 5 weeks in a row. 5 weeks in a row. And you guys have been saying this in the comments, and I've been ignoring it. And now we're too far gone to ignore. 5 weeks in a row the favorite of the opening fight of the card loses. And it hasn't mattered how big of a favorite that fighter is. We just saw it 2 weeks ago. I've been caught my pants down 2 weeks in a row. First, Jessica Rose Clark smoked. And then this past weekend, Ronnie Lawrence was just ragdolled. It wasn't even close. So you guys can do with that information what you want. If you believe in trends and all that, then just bet on Emily Ducote and on Jessica Penne and be done with it, because she is the underdog in this fight. Personally, I think Emily can win this fight, right? I think she should win this fight. She's very patient. She picks her shots well. Her accurate strikes should be able to keep Jessica away and prevent her from losing a clinch war, because that's Jessica Penne's path. Come in here, clinch, push, maybe get a takedown. So I think Emily can avoid that fight. Emily's the pick. Jessica has proven she can beat tough opponents. This whole curse trend thing, who knows if that's going to live on or not. But Emily's the pick, but don't touch this fight. I've learned my lesson at this point. What do you think?
Yeah, and actually that trend could go back even farther. I think it's literally like 7 of the last 8 weeks, and the one person that broke it was Blanchfield, who was getting destroyed in the first round by JJ, and she was a big favorite in that fight and found that guillotine to win that fight. So the trend could even go back even further. It's even crazier than it seems. And in this, I think that Jessica is pretty live in this matchup for a couple reasons. One, Emily, by trade, is a wrestler. She was a high school wrestler, a state champion runner-up. So I guess not a state champion runner-up. I guess that's kind of what you call it, but she was a state runner-up as a high school wrestler. She's also a very good striker, as you mentioned as well. She's very poised and very measured in her striking, as she in her fighting in general, right? She will take her time, and I think that works against her for two different ways. First of all, Jessica has gotten to the point in her career where she just wants to grapple. She just wants to turn everything into a grappling match. She'll even try to pull guard. Against Carolina, she kind of tripped and fell, but was happy to go on her back and was doing this to Carolina, like come on, let's grapple. And Emily just got her black belt. She's a very fresh black belt, so she can grapple, but Penne is going to have the advantage probably in the just pure grappling. And the two things that worry me is Emily's wrestling background, and she just got her black belt, might not be scared to go into the guard of Penne, which is probably her best chance to win this fight. Or two, Jessica, because she is so well versed in the grappling, Emily might be scared to go into the grappling and just kind of work that distance fighting and not do enough to win a decision. Because I've seen fights of hers before where she is very, very passive. And she is good once she starts going, but if Jessica doesn't engage and kind of, gets the strikes from the outside, she could win a weird decision. So this is another one of those those first card fights where it's like, who the hell knows what's going to happen? You have a UFC newcomer versus a vet, and the vet's very, very good at one thing, and that is in the grappling game. So, my pick is going to be Emily. I think that she has the wrestling to control it if it goes to the ground, but if I'm Emily, I don't go to the ground with Jessica. I try to pick her apart, wait for her to come in, counter, move away, win your decision. But, we'll see what happens on the opening fight. My pick's Emily, but I think Jessica's pretty live, honestly. I'm scared.
Yeah, 100%. Don't touch this fight. You have a legitimate gambling problem if you just insist on betting on this fight. Just leave it alone. We got 12 fights to pick from. DraftKings-wise, though, I do think you may, one of these women may score really well, or they'll both score nothing, right? Like Jessica Penne could get those takedowns, could get some control time, and could score somewhat well. Emily, like you said, she's got some wrestling. She could work in there, get takedowns, and score really well. If you want one of in your lineup, then just pick your side because they're evenly priced. But I will likely avoid this because I don't think there's really any chance for a stoppage. I think this is mostly Emily just picking her shots, staying away, and not getting taken down. And I don't think that scores very well in DraftKings. What do you think?
Yeah, and this honestly could be, I hate to play both sides. It could be, I just said it could be a Jessica win, but this could be an absolute mauling by Emily. If she is as good as we think she is with her wrestling and her control, maybe she just goes into Jessica's guard and just is able to withstand everything and just throws elbows and just literally beats the crap out of her. So I think Emily is probably the better value because she probably is going to have some top control. She just has to worry about those bottom submissions. I don't like Jessica because I don't think she's going to get takedowns on her own unless Emily wants to go to the ground with her. So I think the better value is probably on Emily here.
Yeah. Like I said, I probably won't touch on DraftKings, but certainly if you're confident, go for it. Money line, same thing. Don't touch the money line. There's no point. We got plenty of fights to pick from. It's too close to jump on somebody here. But the Monkey Knife Fight strike line, the problem with Emily is she can be gun shy. She doesn't let her hands go. She is more of a counter striker. So the 66 worries me a bit, but 66 is still low for women's MMA. Just total strikes landed. This is not significant. It's literally total. And with Jessica looking to grapple, we may get some of those pot shots to drag that up. More and more is probably the monkey knife fight play. What do you think?
Yeah, it's just Emily's ability to not get in firefights, because she is a very good, patient fighter, worries me a little bit. So this is probably one I would stay away, but I think the better play is probably more and more.
Yeah, if you guys want to check out Monkey Knife Fight, it is daily fantasy. It's a ton of fun. All you need to do is say more or less on the strike line. You can triple your money. WeWantPicks.com/MKF. If you want to check that out, they will match your deposit. And if you want $50, WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. We send you $50 as a thank you. Next up at UFC Long Island, we have Dwight Grant taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. Dwight Grant is 11-5 overall, 2-3 in his last 5, coming off a KO loss just last month. Dustin Stoltzfus is 13-4 overall, 2-3 in his last 5, riding a 3-fight skid. And Dwight Grant is a long, clean striker who uses his range well. He's got a ton of power, solid takedown defense, but questionable cardio. Dwight is on a bit of a skid, but he does remain dangerous and is stylistically impressive. He has a positive striking differential of almost 1 full strike and a 100% takedown accuracy. Not defense, offense accuracy. Dustin Stoltzfus is a busy striker with very good power. He is a BJJ black belt. Jacob and I argued this fact. I've seen that he's a black belt. Wikipedia is saying otherwise. If anybody in the comment knows for a fact, let us know, because there is...
He grapples like
UFC
a black
commentators.
belt.
The commentators said he was a black belt. Yeah, and literally
fine.
the commentator said he was a black belt in one of his fights. But anyway... I think he's a UFC black belt or a BJJ black belt, and he is solid off his back, but that's not really what he's looking for. That's not really his fighting style. And it's easy to say he's on a 3-fight skid with 2 submission losses, but the reality is he's had some really rough matchups, especially against grapplers. I can't stand Gerald Meerschaert, but Gerald Meerschaert is a very talented grappler, and a submission loss to him is what it is. Rodolfo Vieira, world champion grappler. A loss to his is what it is. And Kyle Dawkins, didn't look great in his last outing, but he's a very solid grappler as well. So yes, 3 losses in a row for Stoltzfus, but those are 3 solid opponents to lose to. And it's an interesting fight because both of these guys are dangerous strikers, but they both have their flaws. Dwight can be chinny and have cardio issues. Stoltzfus, I think he has fight IQ issues. Again, you and I argued about this offline, but the fact that he was taking Meerschaert down, which is the only place Meerschaert could have won that fight, is just such a questionable decision. So that Meerschaert loss, again, does not bode well for him. If Meerschaert took him down and submitted him, way different than you're taking down the grappler and getting submitted. That just, you did that to yourself. I think Dwight Grant is the overall better fighter. So he's going to be my pick. But Dustin is very, very live here, especially for a stoppage, considering Dwight was just knocked out a month ago. I think the only real bet to make here is inside the distance decision, no action for Dustin Stoltzfus, because I think Dustin's chin is good enough. And, so I don't see him getting knocked out. I don't see him getting submitted, but he can certainly put Dwight Grant away with his power and the fact that Dwight's coming off a knockout just last month. But I don't know if I'm going to touch this one. What do you think, Checky boy?
Let me start with Dwight Grant. I like the way he fought in his last fight. I don't know that he ended up getting knocked out because of it, but that was one of the first times we've seen him really push forward and be aggressive in his fighting style. And it looked like it was kind of working and paying off for him, because I think he got the knockdown early. But then you kind of saw why he's not aggressive, because some people are naturally aggressive. They know how to be aggressive because they know how to protect themselves and throw the strikes aggressively. He was just kind of coming forward aggressively, throwing wild looping shots. His chin was in the air, and you saw him actually pay the price for that. Eventually he paid that price. He got knocked down, and then he ended up getting knocked out. So in that style, I don't think it's really going to fit him. So we'll see how he comes out this fight. If he comes out too aggressive again, maybe gets caught, because as you mentioned, Dustin's got some real power, and he's kind of turned into a striker. I know the other kind of argument we had is what kind of game plan is Dustin going to bring forward? What kind of fighter is he actually? I think he's a grappler. I think his trade and what he wants to do is grapple, but in his last 3 matchups, he understood that the people he was up against were better grapplers than him. You watch the Rodolfo fight. He was kind of beating up Rodolfo. Rodolfo's got that snappy jab, so he was busted up. But I think he was kind of controlling that fight and was not looking to engage in the wrestling with Rodolfo until Rodolfo shot the takedowns, and he got out of those situations until he couldn't, right? Rodolfo's that next level guy, finally got his hands on him and was able to get his back and choke him out. When you look at the Gerald Miesha fight, I think he knew that he could out-wrestle Gerald Miesha, and he was doing that for the majority of the fight. He went to the ground against Gerald and was really just kind of beating the shit out of him until Gerald does what Gerald does and loses. I mean, that was the most typical Gerald Miesha fight, where he's losing, finds a submission and wins. So it was some tough matchup for Dustin. In this matchup, I think you look at the biggest holes in the games for Dwight Grant, and that is in the grappling and it is in the wrestling. I think Dustin goes back to what he knows best. Wikipedia lists him as a brown belt. You say he's a black belt. I think he grapples it like a black belt. So I think this is what he goes to. I think he gets the takedown, is able to control Dwight Grant on the ground. And if he wants to strike as well, if he's patient enough, I think he can outstrike Dwight Grant as well. So, I'm pretty high on Dustin in this matchup. It's yet to be seen if he's going to be the lock of the week, but I think the path to victory is just so obvious there for the grappling of Dustin. He really hasn't been able to show that off lately because of the matchups. I think he shows it off and is able to even get the finish in this matchup. So I'm going Dustin in this matchup, but I understand the power and length of Dwight Grant in the striking.
Yeah, it's another... back-to-back fights on this card could really go either way. So Dustin Stoltzfus, slight underdog here, but it should be a pretty entertaining fight. Honestly, this is a very good fight night card. I hate that it's early. It's like at 11 o'clock in the morning, which is very annoying.
It's a pretty good fight night card too. But I think it literally starts at 10 a.m. Central Time, which is like, sheesh. I got to set an alarm.
Yeah, that's
right. You got to set an alarm too, right?
No, I'm a functioning human in society. I can't sleep past 5 a.m.
Last weekend I slept Saturday until noon and Sunday until noon. Felt great.
Congratulations. You really have a lot to wake up for. Just a lot.
I took the dog out and then we both just went back to sleep till noon.
Okay. DraftKings, 8,900, 7,300. You know what? I think Dwight Grant wins, but I don't think he's worth $8,900. I think there's way too much risk here for him to almost be a $9,000 fighter. What do you think?
Yeah, that's crazy. And I'm looking at my lineup. I did my lineup this morning, and there's my winnings from last week. Stoltzfus is not in my lineup, but I think he's pretty good value at $7,300.
$7,300, I think he's excellent value. Absolutely. And these DraftKings numbers don't really correlate to the betting odds. A plus 125 underdog should be like $8,000.
Yeah, 77, 78. Yeah, it should be about 78, 77. So, yeah, I think you're getting pretty good value at that $7,300, yeah.
Absolutely. DraftKings took a real stance there. And the Monkey Knife Fight strike line, listen, this is very simple to me. If you think this is a decision, go more. If you think one of these men gets a stoppage, it's a less. I really, the strike line's almost even. I could see them banging it out on their feet. I don't see Dwight initiating takedowns. Dustin does average almost 2 takedowns per fight. So he may work some in there. And he'll definitely get past 58 if he gets some takedowns. So I think it's a more personally. But what do you think of this Monkey Knife Fight strike line?
Yeah, I think it's a more. I think they go at it. Dwight probably is a little bit more passive after getting knocked out in his last fight, and there'll be some grappling exchanges as well. It's probably a more.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you there. And if you guys agree and you want to check that out and play some of these lines, go to wewantpicks.com/MKF and they will instantly match your deposit up to $100. And if you want $50 to throw at some of these fights or do whatever the hell you want with, go to wewantpicks.com/bets, sign up, make a deposit, and we will send you $50 as a thank you. That's wewantpicks.com/bets. Next up at UFC Long Island is one of my favorite fights on this card. We have Dustin Jacoby taking on Jung. Dustin Jacoby is 17-5 overall, 4-0-1 in his last 5, and he is coming off a decision win 3 months ago. Jung is 15-2 overall, 4-0-1 in his last 5, and he's on a 16-fight unbeaten streak. Not 16-fight win streak because there's a draw in there, but 16-fight unbeaten streak. Dustin Jacoby's a high-level kickboxer who will light up your legs. He'll chop down that tree early and then work to the head for a stoppage. He's very technically sound with good power and volume. And taking him down might be the obvious path to victory because he's such a good striker. But Darren Stewart, well, he took Dustin down twice and was knocked out. Ion Cutelaba took Dustin down, wait for it, 9 times. And that fight went to a draw. But as great as Dustin is, he did not look great in that last fight. He won a decision. He did have a knockdown, but he looked sluggish. He did say he was injured in the post-fight interview, so hopefully whatever that was is long gone because that Dustin may have some trouble here because Da Un Jung is a technical boxer with solid wrestling and clinch work, and he's coming off 2 very dominant wins in a row, and what's really impressive about those wins is they were very different. They were very different from each other. In the win over William Knight, he had 8 takedowns and plenty of control time. In his win over Kennedy and Chukwu, he had fantastic striking and got the early knockout. So we've seen him do everything well. We've seen him grapple well. We've seen him strike well. And now he's on that 16-fight unbeaten streak. And this is a very fun fight and a really hard pick. I love picking Dustin Jacoby because his striking is just so good. But Jung has proven to have excellent striking as well. He has also proven to have an incredible backup plan and the ability to out-grapple other dangerous strikers. We haven't seen that from Dustin. He only has 3 takedowns in 9 fights, and there isn't really a backup plan there, right? His striking has just been so good he hasn't needed to do anything else yet, but if he does need to, we don't know what he's going to do. So if you think Dustin is the better striker and has good enough takedown defense, then he's the clear pick. If you think Jung can work inside and ragdoll Dustin like he did William Knight, then he's the clear pick. Personally, I'm going with Dustin here. While the wrestling worries me, I do think Dustin's leg kicks will be the big difference here. I think he could slow Jung down, take away the movement early, and just light up those legs often. And whoever wins this is probably getting a top 10 opponent. But before I go to you, Jacob, we got some donations. Bub Collins, I'm gonna read these in my head before I say them out loud.
You're safe on this one. I'll let you know. I've read them. You're safe on these.
Bub Collins said, "Good job on the sweep, Salamander." Thank you, Bub, very much. If you don't know what Salamander is, Jacob's
Onlyfans.com/the Freckle Salamander.
Name.
Right after this, me and Angelo go live on there, and we have a lot of fun, don't we, Angelo?
Okay, that's not a true statement at all. Sinister FX with the $5 Canadian says, "Who's your most confident fighters, Jacob?" I don't know.
And I'll tell you right now.
This answering that question.
No, I'll get into it right now because I think Dustin Jacoby to me is at -130 is one of the best values on this card. And I know a lot of people are on Jung in the chat, but let me tell you why. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, he can just wrestle him. He can just wrestle him. He can just wrestle him." Dustin Jacoby, it's very, very hard to wrestle Dustin Jacoby. Angelo rattled off the Ion Cutelaba takedown numbers. It was 8 or 9 takedowns, whatever it was. If you watch that, if you just look at that stats, you see 9 takedowns, you're thinking, oh my God, Da Un Jung took down William Knight. He can just take down Dustin Jacoby. It'll be no problem. That's your path to victory. Watch the takedowns that Ion Cutelaba, and he's a very good wrestler, by the way. Cutelaba is a very good wrestler, very good grappler. Dustin Jacoby was never on his back. He was taken down to his knees, got back up. He was taken down, dragged to his knees, got back up. There was never a time in that fight where he was actually taken down on his back, submitted to the takedown, pulled guard, and was able to, and was working from there. He is a very, very tough guy to take down because he knows the only path to victory for people against him is to take him down because he is going to be the better striker than 95% of this division. And Da Un Jung, hats off to him for the people he's fought and the wins he's got. But Dustin Jacoby is not Sam Alvey. Dustin Jacoby is not William Knight. Dustin Jacoby is not Kennedy Nchekwu. He is a next-level striker, and he is going to be the much, much, much better striker than Da Un Jung in this matchup. And Da Un Jung, when he strikes, is a flat-footed guy. He will just stand in front of you. Dustin Jacoby will light your ass up if you just stand in front of him. He looked awful, was hurt, could not train for his last fight, and he still won a striking match. It was close, but he literally said, I was so hurt. He couldn't throw kicks. He's very known for throwing kicks. He couldn't throw kicks, and his cardio was shit, and he still won the fight versus a very, very good opponent. This guy is going to destroy Da Un Jung. If he's shooting for legs, he's not going to get the takedowns. If he tries to strike, he's probably going to get knocked out or just lose a bad, bad decision. I am Dustin Jacoby all the way in this matchup.
All right, well, he got his $5 worth. Listen, I agree with you. What does worry me is we've seen Jung do everything well. That's what worries me. So,
but the level of opponents he's
Jacoby
doing
at minus,
against is like, come on. And I know you're going to say William Knight's a wrestler and stuff, but I mean,
I don't even care about William Knight's wrestling ability. He is a wrestler, like by trade, wrestled in high school, had some success. It's not even that. It's that William's strength, athleticism, and power meant nothing. We're just pushing him around like he didn't exist.
No, and if there's a moment in this fight where Dustin Jacoby's flat on his back, I think that's probably big trouble. I just don't think he's going to get into that situation because Dustin Jacoby's so good in his striking. With his kicks, with his knees, he's going to be throwing stuff up the middle. When Jung's looking for those takedowns, there's going to be a knee sitting there waiting. But if he is a flat on his back, that's going to be big problems. I just don't think he's going to be able to get taken down.
Sure. Yeah, and people in the chat are saying William Knight is not a wrestler. That's just literally a false statement. He wrestled his entire life, wrestled in high school. The state that I'm from, I know people he wrestled. He's an actual wrestler. So you're just going to make false statements in the comment like you know what you're talking about. You do not know what you're talking about. That is an incorrect statement, and you should apologize to the rest of the people. It's embarrassing. You should be embarrassed. Anyway, 8,379. I agree. I like Dustin here. The minus 130 money line, honestly, it is very tempting because I do think he's the better fighter. I may hop on that Dustin Jacoby money line at minus 130. $8,300 in DraftKings, he's probably worth it. I don't know if there's a stoppage, but I think he scores somewhat well in those striking wins because, there's some decent volume. He's gotten plenty of knockdowns. Those are 10 points each. So, $8,300, it's probably worth it, but I don't expect a stoppage here. What do you think?
I just checked my line. He's definitely in my lineup. And Mr. Savage says, I think he will easily take... go watch the Ion Cutelaba fight versus Dustin Jacoby. And look how hard Cutelaba was working for those takedowns. And I know he got 9 takedowns, but Jacoby was never down on the ground. You guys need to watch that fight. Do your fucking research.
Well, this is a lot of people's research. They just listen to what we say and then they yell at us and if it doesn't go the way that they expect it to. But... interesting fight. I'm looking forward to it more so than almost any other fight on this card. Monkey Knife Fight strike line 75-65. The reason the 75 is so tricky is because he can light up your legs and he can touch up your legs, but 75 is a lot of strikes for a couple of male light heavyweight kickboxers. That's a lot. What do you think of the Monkey Knife?
No, I think it's more. I think Dustin comes out, especially because of the performance of last fight. I think he tries to show people who he really is, and comes out and really starts lighting up. And Jung is a tough opponent, can strike as well. So I think they really go after it because Jacoby's not a put you away guy. He's comfortable with just kickboxing, right, and just pointing. If the shot's there, it's there. But I think it's probably more and more play.
Yeah, it could be. If you guys feel confident about that, go to wewantpicks.com/MKF, and they will instantly match your deposit. It's daily fantasy. It's a ton of fun. It's an app on your phone, and you can do it all night right before the fights start. And if you want 50 free bucks, go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our betting partners, make a deposit, and we will send you 50 bucks as a thank you. Next up, at UFC Long Island, we have Bill Algeo taking on Herbert Burns. Bill Algeo is 15-6 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, alternating wins and losses. Herbert Burns is 11-3 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off a TKO loss 2 full years ago. And this fight is a new fight for the card. So both Bill Algeo and Herbert Burns were on the card with different opponents. Their opponents dropped, and the UFC said, well, screw it, you two can fight each other. So there's no short notice factor here as far as like training camp is concerned, but styles make fights, and stylistically there have been some opponent changes, and that could affect these guys if they're preparing for one fighter and they're getting another. Bill Algeo is a fast-paced striker who has kind of a karate-style stance and like where he keeps his hands and things like that. And because of that, he's got some solid defense and surprisingly high output with almost 6 significant strikes per minute. He likes a dirty stand-up war if he can keep it there. He does have some okay takedowns, but he has a low 44% takedown accuracy. He's got a BJJ black belt, great cardio, at a fast pace, and he's super durable. Herbert Burns is the younger brother of Gilbert Burns. And not that being related to anybody means that you're going to be any good. Like, look at Valentina and Antonina Shevchenko. But it does mean that you're around quality coaching, quality opponents, high-level training partners, and that it's been like that for a while. Similar to what we said about Ayman Sahabi last week for UFC Vegas 58, right? Like, his brother is a very good coach, and he's just been around that coaching forever, and he looked good. So Herbert Burns could benefit from the people around him. And while Herbert is not nearly as good as his brother is, he's a solid fighter. He's a solid grappler. He's got decent power in his hands. He averages freaking almost 5 takedowns per 15 minutes. And even though we have not seen him fight in 2 full years, he does have quality wins over grapplers like Evan Dunham and Derek Minner. The problem is that he can
Derek
at
Minner.
times
I know
be
that name.
Yeah,
Derek,
there you go.
Who
Lots
else
of bums beat Derek Minner. Lots of bums.
Nice one. Nice way to he ended that off really well. Go ahead.
I'm not gonna talk about that absolute clown show Ryan
About
Hall
who?
every show. Anyway.
Oh, Ryan Hall. You said Ryan Hall. Oh, Ryan Hall.
The problem with Herbert Burns is that he can be submission or bust. He's very dangerous on the ground, but and he has solid submission defense. But anybody who also has solid submission defense can leave Herbert on his back, just losing minutes, losing rounds, and then eventually losing the fight. Get that out of here, dude. Bill Algeo's win over Joanderson Brito was really impressive. He doubled the number of strikes. He went 2 for 2 on takedowns, and he had 5 minutes of control time. He also defended 2 takedowns, and he was the busier fighter overall in 3 rounds. And I only bring this up because Joanderson Brito is very good. He's very active, and I think beating him means something. So MMA math is almost meaningless, but wins over solid opponents is not. And if Algeo can bring that same pressure, the wrestling defense, and that energy into this fight, I think he wins. I think his BJJ black belt should keep him out of trouble, and his striking should cause some trouble. So Burns is coming back after that 2-year layoff, and while I'm sure he's going to be well prepared, I don't think Algeo is going to give him the room or time to catch his breath or adjust. So Algeo's the pick. I'm glad the UFC was able to keep these guys on the card, and I actually grabbed Algeo at minus 160 money line last week, and I know you and I disagree on that. So, yeah. Hold on. We have a new member. Welcome, Patrick Shelley, to membership. You qualify for Jacob's $50 Lock of the Week giveaway. Why shouldn't I have said that?
I'm just trying to get in your head now. I'm just making you try to second guess
I was going to say, of all the...
you were like, why shouldn't I have said that? Like, oh, God. Is it my breakdown time? I didn't hear that there was a transition. I'm just
sure is.
So Herbert Burns is a guy that before his last fight, he's had 2-year layoff. Obviously, I think Angelo mentioned that. And before that, I mean, just got his ass beat by Daniel Pineda. He missed weight for that fight. That was a bad overall performance for him. And honestly, when I look back at that fight, I rewatched that fight, I think that might be the best thing for his career because he was just running through people up to that point. I mean, 4 first-round finishes. We really didn't have anyone that came up against him that was any sort of threat. So I think he was getting a little lazy, getting a little sloppy. And I think that was an opportunity to really refocus him and show, there's levels to this game. And to take that next level, maybe take some time off and work on my game. And if you look at the Instagram, I always do the Instagram deep dives. It looks like he's in the best shape I've ever seen him in. And I think that the camps with Gilbert are going to help him tremendously because as you grow, I think as a camp grows, I think all the fighters in a camp kind of grow together. Obviously, he's brothers with Gilbert Burns. And Gilbert Burns in the last 2 years with Herbert Burns being out has looked better than he's ever looked. The guy almost became the champion. He knocked down Usman. Obviously, ended up losing that fight. And then everyone didn't think he'd had a shot in hell versus Chimaev and didn't look great in that matchup. But he had moments in that fight where it was like, holy shit, Gilbert Burns is like the truth. And Herbert's been side by side with him up to this point. I'm going to go Herbert Burns this matchup, but it's more because Bill Algeo is not a dangerous guy, right? He's a decision machine. He's not a threat on the feet. He wins fights on the feet, as you mentioned, with the pace, the pressure. He turns everything into a brawl. He makes things nasty, and that's how he kind of wears people down. Can he do that to Herbert Burns? I think he probably can. I think the path to victory, that's why he's the favorite. And you putting money line on Bill Algeo, I don't disagree with that, right? Because you can see that path to victory. He just needs to overwhelm him and break him down cardio-wise. But if this gets to the ground, the way that Joe Anderson Brito was able to control certain positions versus Bill Algeo, and I know Joe Anderson Brito is a good grappler in himself, but he's not on the level that Herbert Burns is. If Herbert Burns gets you down on the ground and gets your back, and I know that Bill Algeo is a very experienced black belt, he's going to be in a big trouble in the matchup. So I watched the Brito fight. I see the layoff for Herbert Burns. I think he's going to use those 2 years coming off the embarrassing loss, missing weight, being around Gilbert for the 2 years. I think this is going to be the best Herbert Burns you're going to see coming in this matchup against a guy that just frankly is not very dangerous unless he's on the ground and has the grappling advantage. And in this fight, I don't think he does. So my pick is going to be Herbert Burns. I don't feel great about it. It's not like a super definitely lock of the week pick because Bill Algeo has that path to victory. But I think it finds a way to the ground, and Herbert Burns is dangerous down there. So my pick is going to be Herbert Burns, but I don't disagree with the Bill Algeo money line play.
Yeah, I definitely think Herbert's live, and anytime you get a talented fighter with that kind of layoff, you don't know what you're going to get. You just don't know, right? Like, who knows what he's going to look like? He could come out looking like a killer, or he can just, it's just a dud, right? He showed up for a paycheck, and he's going to be a slug. We don't know, right? So you have to. I have my notes. Sorry,
I have my notes real quick. I think that whoever ends up on top in the scramble is going to win because you saw Herbert Burns in the guard versus Pineda just get the absolute shit beat out of him. If he's on top, I think he wins. If Bill Algeo is able to win some scrambles, end up on top, I think he can control those positions as well. So it's not necessarily they go to the ground, Burns is going to win. Algeo's got his shots as well on the scrambles.
Yeah, I mean, DraftKings wise, I think Algeo wins. I have to look a little closer at how he scores in DraftKings, right? I want to see what he scores in his fights. Because like you said, he's not very dangerous. So $8,700, while I do think he wins, I don't think he's going to get a stoppage per se. So that's, I'm leaving points on the table there. And he's just going to have to land a ton of strikes because he's not going to be looking for his own takedown. So it's really just strikes only. And Herbert Burns could get some takedowns and still lose this fight and just end up on top with some control time, win a round or two. And all of a sudden that $7,500, if you think Herbert wins, is not a bad price. What do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of favorites on this card that I was looking at my DraftKings today when I was setting my lineup. I'm like, holy shit. Like, even the favorites that I think are going to win, I don't think they're going to score very well for DraftKings. So, yeah, I don't love the $8,700, obviously, because I picked Herbert Burns. But that's decent value at $7,500 for Burns. But I don't know if I trust him enough for my lineup. He's not in my lineup right now.
Yeah, frankly, this might be a double up the main event kind of card. But Monkey, Night Fight, strike line 95-48. Those numbers are interesting because Chris puts those numbers together. It's just math. How long is this fight expected to go, and how many strikes do they normally land per minute? Frankly, Bill Algeo does land 95.5 strikes. Like, he lands a lot. His output is insane, just constantly pressuring. So I think this might be a more. But in order for Herbert to get to that 48, he's going to need a couple of takedowns. And Bill Algeo's takedown defense is not amazing. His submission defense is solid. His takedown defense is not amazing. So I see Bill lighten Herbert up the first round. Second round, Herbert might get a takedown, as he falls into a rhythm. And frankly, it could be the opposite as well. But I think it's a more. Even though those lines are super far apart, I think it's a war, and I think it's more. What do you think?
I hate those lines. I hate them.
All right.
I'm not going to say anything. I hate
Jacob's not going to touch him.
Fuck you, Chris.
All right. Jacob's not going to touch those lines. If you're confident in either side, WeOwnPicks.com/ Okay. Very clever. You guys want 50 free bucks? You can take that, spend it on a therapist after listening to this creep say creep things. Go to WeOwnPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. We send you 50 bucks. As a thank you. Next up at UFC Long Island, we have the People's main event. This is the main event, similar to UFC 276, where everybody said Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira should be the main event. Like, that was the fight everyone was excited for. Very similar situation here, right? Ricky Simone versus Jack Shore. This should be the big dog fight, not the main card, not the main event, but certainly on the main card. We got Ricky Simone at 19-3 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, riding a 4-fight win streak and coming off a KO win. Jack Shore 16-0, 5-0 in his last 5, obviously, and he's coming off a great win over a really tough Timur Valiev. And Ricky Simone, it's Simone, it's not Simon. Listen, I've done so much research on these people's and their names. I hate when I hear people mispronounce names.
I can't
it just
stand
brings
either.
disgust.
Jangelo.
It's just disgusting. It's disgusting. Ricky Simone, you know what's funny? In my notes,
Bodidi.
I write Simone.
Has anyone ever called you
S-I-
Bodidi?
I've been
Bodidi?
called everything, mostly favorable things.
Say everything.
But anyway,
you've been
before I
called.
jump,
Bitch, pussy.
my notes where I write their names, it says Ricky Simone, Simone. So I don't say Simon by accident.
There you go.
Ricky Simone. He's a high-energy wrestling beast. The guy is just going to dive at leg after leg with 100% energy, and he is not going to stop. He'll get the takedowns. If you get up, he's just going to do it again. Just literally non-stop. And potentially, he'll get a submission in there. He's a solid grappler on top of his wrestling. His biggest asset is certainly his gas tank and his willingness to stick to a game plan. He's not a technical striker, but it is there to set up his takedowns, and he was able to showcase his power against the Sun Sao in his last fight. He can be hittable, but so far his chin has held up. Jack Shore is a very good grappler who likes to move forward, and he's constantly looking for his own takedowns. Both wrestling and striking are similar come-forward, busy styles. He also has a surprisingly fast kicks for a grappler. It's always funny seeing these grapplers with really solid kicks, but he is one of them. And while he remains undefeated, he is coming off a close win over Timur Valiev, where he only went 3 for 7 on his takedowns, and he was taken down twice himself. And I'm torn on this fight. I really am. Both of these guys are very good grapplers and lately have shown some solid striking as well. Simone, with an E, is coming off the KO win over Rafael Sunsao, who is a little past his prime, but that's a tried and true veteran. And Jack Shore dropped Timur Valiev twice in his last fight. And right now, these odds have Jack Shore as a pretty good-sized favorite. I personally think this is a razor-thin fight. This should be a pick'em. I am surprised at these odds. I honestly think I like Ricky Simone here. If you dig into their wins, I think Ricky has the better wins over the higher quality opponents. 2 wins that stand out to me. One is over Merab Davishvili, and the other is over Ronnie Yaya. In the Merab fight, Ricky was taken down 6 times, but he gave up less than 3 minutes of control time, and he was able to defend 16 takedowns. So if you think Jack Shore is going to come in here, take him down over and over, no issues, no problems, well, Davishvili had some issues there. And the other win is Ronnie Yaya. He had 4 takedowns of his own, 2 knockdowns, 2 10-8 rounds against very dangerous vets. So Jack Shore's very good. He's coming off a great win, but I think Ricky Simone's pressure, experience, and pace will be the difference here. I like Ricky Simone. What the hell are you doing?
Go ahead.
Why are you sitting like that? Very annoying. Jesus, Mary. You're doing that. I thought somebody donated like $100 because you're doing.
I was doing this
my
because of your pick. I was flabbergasted.
What an absolute buffoon. Ricky Simone's the pick. I think the bet here, though, is a plus 3.5. If you don't know what that is, we buy a round on the judges' scorecard. I absolutely think Ricky Simone can win a round. Absolutely. If he can get his wrestling off first, he can win a round, and that's all I need him to do is go out there in real life, win 1 round. I'll buy 1 round on the judges' scorecard through the bookie, and I'll get paid. So I don't know what those odds are, but I'm probably going to jump on that. You're only going to get that buy a round bet if you go to weonpicks.com/bets. BetOnline is the one partner that offers it. I'm probably going to jump on that, make some money. If you guys want to follow, we'll send you $50 as a thank you. And I just saw in the comments, Wendy Willis said the plus 3.5 is minus 200. That's honestly not terrible. All he has to do is win 1 single round. What do you think, Jacoby? You people are obsessed with Jack Shore, by the way. This is so annoying. What do you think?
Well, hopefully I'm the voice of reason here because Angela, you tell me if I'm wrong. There's nobody that loves Ricky Simone more than me. Ricky Simone is my fucking dude. I love Ricky Simone. Watch all our breakdowns, past breakdowns for Ricky Simone. Ricky Simone is my dude. The guy is relentless. He is a little cannonball that just runs across, doesn't give a fuck, is going to get either takedowns or throw bombs and just does not care. And in this matchup, I honestly think, I don't disagree with the Ricky Simone pick. Here's how it's going to play out. He cannot beat Jack Shore for 3 rounds. You cannot beat Jack Shore for 3. I mean, he's not going to win a decision versus Jack Shore. I just don't see that path in my mind at all. Jack Shore is just too well-rounded and too good everywhere. Maybe he gets a takedown here. Maybe he wins your bet. He wins the round, whatever. You're not going to win a decision versus Jack Shore. He's just too good. He's too patient. He's too technical. He's just too good everywhere to win a decision versus Jack Shore. So if you're Ricky Simone in this fight and you have the energy, the power, I think you sell out round 1. I honestly think you come in, you sell out round 1, take it as a 1-round fight. You try to bait him into an absolute war and try to get him out of there in the first round, because I don't see a world, except for maybe Uranus, where Ricky Simone is able to win a decision versus Jack Shore. I think he's probably going to have to find a finish, and his best opportunity is to just go across and try to overwhelm him early. And I love Ricky Simone. And I think if he does that, there is that path where maybe baits him into war, finds that opportunity. But Jack Shore, he's so good with his counter striking. He's so good with his counter wrestling in his scrambles. He's good with his jiu-jitsu, his opportunistic jiu-jitsu, that, I just don't see. Ricky's my dude, and I love Ricky. I just think it's a bad matchup. I think it's good that he's getting this next step and this next level of competition, and he's going to learn from this. I just don't see a world other than like a weird knockout or something where Ricky Simone can beat Jack Shore. He's just so good. He should see everything coming his way as far as the striking, the takedowns. The guy is very, very good, man. There's a reason why he's an undefeated fighter. I'm glad that the odds do show some respect for Ricky. When I saw this matchup, I thought that Jack Shore was going to be like a -250, a -200. So the odds makers are showing some respect for Ricky Simone, but I mean, this is a Jack Shore play all the way, unfortunately for Ricky.
Yeah, listen, I think Jack Shore is very good. I see people in the comments saying, Angelo, no, I think he's very, very good. But this is grappler versus grappler, straight up. And I think Ricky will be first to engage the grappling. I think, like you said, he's going to bomb and dive at legs. He doesn't care. And the win that Ricky had over Merab Dvalishvili is what helped me with this pick, because Merab took him down 6 times. Ricky defended 16 other takedowns. And if Jack Shore comes out here with that same game plan, Ricky could have that same success. Yeah, take him down a few times. But he doesn't accept the takedown. He just pops right back up. And name an incredible wrestler that Jack Shore beat.
Well, his
you
last
can't.
fight, he beat
He
him.
hasn't.
Well,
Timur Valiev didn't really wrestle in that. He didn't really wrestle in that fight.
Because he knew he couldn't wrestle. He took down Jack, I think, a couple times, but I think that he knew that he was going to lose there, and he did. He lost some scrambles, and he lost some positions because of that. I see Ricky maybe getting a couple takedowns, but Jack is so good in scrambles and finding a way to come out on top of every single position that I just don't see. But I will say, first of all, this should be the fact that this, I don't even know if it's the feature prelim, is the most, I tweeted it, it's gotten like 400 likes or something. Jack Shore's dad actually retweeted it because it says the most disrespect. This should either open up the main card or be the co-main. Super, super disrespectful for both these guys that this is on the prelims at all.
No, listen, I agree with you. I'm absolutely looking forward to this fight. I hope it's either a war or a mauling by one of them. Right? I hope it's an absolute drag-him-out war, or if Jack Shore wins, I hope he destroys Ricky so that we can be like, holy crap, Jack Shore's the real deal. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of you people feel that way already, and I know a lot of you people feel that way, and I think Jack Shore is very good as well, but it's grappler versus grappler, and just look at the stats.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I mean, I wouldn't mind being wrong on this.
Ricky wastes no time grappling.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind being wrong. This is one of those fights where I'll definitely be, when the fight starts, I'm going to be rooting for Ricky 100%. I love that dude. Love that dude.
And Ricky wastes 0 time. He just will start grappling immediately. So I think that's the difference here, right? Grappler versus grappler. It might end up a weird striking match, or it might just be whoever takes the first shot's going to win that fight.
I think you turned the chat too. There's a lot of people now saying, I think it's probably close. Jack Shore hasn't fought anyone.
They're coming out to defend me because everybody else was a hater. Anyway, $7,800, $8,400. I think there's real value on Ricky Simón. We're talking 5 points per takedown in DraftKings. 5 points per takedown in DraftKings. He's going to get some. He's not going to get shut out in takedowns. That's for sure. Especially if you think Ricky wins this fight. I think $7,800 is great value. I also think $8,400 is great value. Everybody that thinks Jack Shore is going to literally, you guys are writing mop the floor with Ricky Simón. And this might look like last week's Kakhramonov versus Ronnie Lawrence fight. That is possible. That it looks like that.
Wasn't that somebody's lock of the week? Didn't somebody say Kakhramonov was like a lock?
It might be. You know how like grocery stores have special people bagging groceries? We do that here with picks. I allow my special friend to come on here and make picks, and sometimes he says the right things, and sometimes he licks the window.
Are you schizophrenic?
You don't know what you're gonna get.
You have a special friend? Do you have a pet rock?
I don't even know this. Okay. The Monkey Knife Fight strike line. The Monkey Knife Fight strike line, 60 to 87. I'm not 100% positive what to do with this strike line. I'm sure I will get nothing meaningful out of you. So,
Jack Shore is in my DraftKings, just so you know. Yeah.
He's phenomenal. They're both great. This is a great price point for both of these guys. Phenomenal price point.
I agree.
For both of them. Whoever wins is gonna be worth the money. Absolutely. I don't know what to do with the Monkey Knife Fight strike line, guys. I don't know what to do. You guys, let me know what you think. If they're gonna land more or less than the strikes you see on the screen. And I mentioned I'm probably gonna be doing that plus 3.5 bet on Ricky. You like more. The problem is if there is that much grappling, I don't know when their hands are gonna be hitting. That's my only concern with the more.
I mean, this could be a wrestler where they just strike the whole time. Jack Shore is comfortable with striking. I know Ricky will throw some heat as well. So maybe these guys just kind of it's like one takedown each per round, but then they just get after it with the hands.
Yeah, it'll be a fun fight. Either way, I'm looking forward to it. And Jack Shore is very good. People, it's so funny, man. You make a pick and everyone's like, "You're an idiot. How could you?" It's like, dude, I gotta pick a side. I gave you my logic.
Yeah, and Jack Shore is one of those typical guys that never looks like he's like super dominant, but he just keeps on winning, man. So he's one of those guys I can see when you watch him, you're like, this guy's undefeated, but he just keeps winning.
Well, I'm surprised they have him on this and not on UFC London too, but whatever.
I bet they are really regretting that now that the Till fight dropped and stuff. This would have been a great one to kind of bump up on the main card.
Next up, at UFC Long Island, we have Punahele Soriano taking on Dalcha Lungiambula. And I'm positive I'm pronouncing Punahele's name wrong because I had all sorts of comments with it. It's a Punahele. I'm not doing that. Punahele Soriano, 8-2 overall, 3-2 in his last 5. And he is riding a 2-fight loss streak. Jesus, dude. Dalcha Lungiambula, 11-4 overall, 2-3 in his last 5.
Whatever. 11-0. I do what I want this week.
He's coming off that submission loss to Cody Brundage. Punahele Soriano is a fluid striker who has a ton of power and can put most people out on their feet. He was a D3 All-American wrestler, and he does have 4 takedowns in the UFC, but that includes 3 in one fight against Jamie Pickett in his Contender Series win. He's coming off that loss to Nick Maximov, where his striking was on point, but he was taken down an incredible 11 times. So Punahele is a very dangerous striker, but he can be first round or bust. Dalcha Lungiambula is a short powerhouse who's fast and dangerous. He comes forward with insane power and pressure. He can also grapple when needed. We saw his grappling in his fight against Marc-Andre Barrault, where he had 2 takedowns, and in his UFC debut against Daquan Townsend, where he had 4 takedowns before an eventual KO. We also saw it in his last fight, though, against Cody Brundage, where he was dominating, probably going to get a stoppage, and then he just decided to take a poorly timed shot, and he was caught in a guillotine. Bad decision-making cost him that fight. Punahele's a 2-1 favorite, and he's flexing. He's now minus 240. In this fight, I am surprised. Both of these guys are very dangerous striking, and I know Puna is a D3 All-American wrestler, but he doesn't use it. He doesn't use it very often at all, and now we know his takedown defense is not very good at all. Dalcha looked great in his last fight. He moved to Sanford MMA for that camp, and he made improvements. He has such insane power that it just looks like every little strike does damage. Even little pot shots while defending takedowns look like they hurt people and just force people to let go of whatever they're doing. So, man, I might be heading down the wrong path here, but I like Dalcha in this fight. I think he has more power, better takedown defense. I think he can keep his power longer in the fight, second round, third round. I've got a half of a unit, only a half a unit money line bet. I'm probably going to jump on the Dalcha Lungiambula wins inside the distance decision no action bet. Because if Punahele's not putting you out in the first round, he's not putting you out. And I think that might be a solid bet here. I don't know what the odds are. I'll have to check that out. If you want a bet like that, a cushion bet, if it goes to a decision, you get your money back. If Dalcha wins by KO or TKO, you get paid. BetOnline is the only partner of ours that has that bet. So go to weonpicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. We'll send you $50, and it's BetOnline that offers the inside the distance decision no action. What do you think, Jakey boy? Too many underdogs on this card?
No, I don't hate the value play for that, right? I'm not going to pick Dalcha as a pick. But as far as value goes, I think Soriano being anything more than a 2-1 is just insane for this matchup because Dalcha does have real power, and this is probably going to be a striking matchup. Yeah, I see these odds at, I think Soriano probably should be the favorite, but this is like a minus 130, minus 150, something like that. So anything, worse than that, I don't mind the value for Dalcha. As far as inside the distance decisional action, I could see that as well. The thing that would worry me on that bet is more of like an exhaustion TKO that Soriano would kind of overwhelm him late second into the third, and there's up against a fence, like not necessarily put away, but the ref stops it because he's tired. Because that's why he shot that takedown versus Cody Brundage, right? He was just laying into him, throwing big shots, couldn't put him away. So he thought, you know what, let me take him down. I'm an experienced wrestler. He's actually like a world wrestling grappling champion. He was on the judo national team. So he's very well versed in all mixed martial arts along with the power. And I think he thought, let me take him down, get my breath, and then we'll go back at and try to get the finish, and just kind of got caught in that exchange. But he really was beating the shit out of Cody. If you're Soriano in this matchup, I think the odds are crazy. You got to respect the power from Dalcha. Soriano is one of those guys that really kind of likes to throw power. And in this matchup, to beat Dalcha, I think you just got to touch him, right? I think you just got to touch him, kickbox him, point him, touch him, wait for him for that power to fade out of the first round, right? The big muscles start filling up with blood. He's throwing, more looping shots, and then you can start laying in a little bit more power shots. But if Soriano comes in this first round after back-to-back losses and tries to knock out this guy, I mean, he could find himself in some big trouble. So, my pick is going to be Soriano for this matchup. I think he can be more technical than Dalcha and win that way. But this is a dangerous fight for him. And if he just comes in and thinks he's going to knock out Dalcha, he could find another thing coming because Dalcha's got other tricks in his bag as well. Like I mentioned, the judo, the wrestling, the grappling. Maybe he goes to that in this matchup and is able to dominate Soriano. So I don't disagree with your value play in the bet for Dalcha. My pick is going to be Soriano because I think he's just a little bit better in the striking. But it's a dangerous play for Soriano, man. It's a dangerous fight.
Yeah, and let's not forget that Brendan Allen outstruck Soriano.
I watched that fight, and obviously Soriano had the power, would lay into Brendan Allen. You could see the power there, but absolutely was outstruck by Brendan Allen in that matchup.
Yeah, and he obviously has power, but Sam Alvey dropped Brendan Allen. Dropped him. Punahele didn't. So, and I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm just putting in perspective that while on paper he's probably the better striker, he's definitely the better wrestler. He doesn't really use the wrestling, and he's first round or bust with his striking. $5 super chat. I'm going to read it before I say it out loud. Here we go. $5 super chat. Put this towards a bet against Jacob. He needs to be humbled.
You want to bet on this one? We usually do more than $5 though. Okay.
I think he's just betting against you in life. And, frankly, you already lost that bet. Stand up. Show everybody how short you are.
Well, I could, but...
Nope. Okay. Okay. $9,200. Do you think Punahele's that big of a favorite here?
Hell no.
Yeah, that's the problem. And this is a tough week with DraftKings. $9,200. He's one of the biggest favorites on the entire card. This is a tricky card. Yes, red in the back.
Go ahead. He's gone.
I'm just going to move on. Okay, I'm moving on.
I thought you called on, so
Say-
I didn't hear you said. No, Dalcha's in my lineup, just so you know. I think it's
Okay.
I think it's decent value.
Yeah. Monkey Knife Fight strike line 55 to 49. Listen, if there's legit power and somebody gets put out, then it's going to be a big less. I do think there's some touching here. I think it goes a little longer, probably second round, maybe even third. It might be more with this Monkey Knife Fight strike line, but is this a 1.5 or a 2.5 round fight?
Let me look for you real quick. It is a 1.5. You can get the over 1.5 for minus 160, or you can get the under 1.5 for plus 130.
Oh God, the wall of shame voice. I think it's I like the over 1.5. That's a solid bet. I think this does go. Although Punahele and Dalcha both have nasty power. If you guys want to check out Monkey Knife Fight, they also have prop games. It's not just guessing the strike line. They also have a game called Knockout Kings. And you can pick any 3 fighters, and if one of them wins by KO or TKO, you get paid. 2 wins, you get paid even more. You could potentially double this up. You may get a knockout in this fight. Yeah, what do you want? What do you want?
You said inside the distance decisional action for Dalcha?
Yes.
Is that your bet? Plus 215.
I didn't bet it yet. Plus 215. Okay. Ooh.
That gets you
Juicy,
excited.
juicy. So
That'll put some hair on your balls.
I'm gonna stay seated for that. So I may jump on that as well. Guys, we have a free Discord. It's 100% free. There is a link in the description. Join the free Discord. Share your picks, share your bets. You guys want to call us names when you disagree with a pick? I don't give a shit. Do that. But also, it's us against the books, you idiots. It's not us against you or you against each other.
Yeah, idiots.
It's all of us
you
collectively
people in the chat,
against
you
the books.
stupid assholes. Screw all of you. I hate you all.
Call me names. Who's this? This one buffoon is just nonstop calling me names right now.
I think it's Lil Seal.
Where is he?
Well, I think it's all of them,
No,
actually.
it's not.
I think they all hate you.
Is it? When I see it again, I'll mention it. Now everybody's just going to call me names. Next up at UFC Long Island, we have the main card opener.
Speaking of Long Island.
We have that doesn't even...
Oh, it goes.
Like it's not even...
The chat knows. Speaking of Long
Island,
we have Miesha
we've got
Tate.
Lauren Murphy. We've got Lauren Murphy taking on Miesha Tate at flyweight, and this fight was rebooked from UFC 276 because Lauren Murphy had COVID. Lauren Murphy's 15-5 overall, but 4-1 in her last 5, and she's coming off that loss to Shevchenko in a title fight 8 months ago. Miesha Tate, 19-8 overall, 2-1 in her last 5, 3-2 if you count her insanely dominant performance on Celebrity Big Brother. I don't know if you guys watched that, but she ran that show. Did you watch that season?
I didn't.
Oh, man. Dude, she won every challenge and the show. It was incredible what she did. Anyway, Celebrity Big Brother. Miesha Tate, she came back after a 5-year layoff, and now she's 1-1 in her return to the UFC, and she's making her flyweight debut. In her first fight back, she looked great. It looked like she was the best shape she had ever been in. She had clean takedowns and a finish. But in her last fight, she went 1 for 6 in takedown attempts, and she was just a step behind in the striking, and that's what lost her that decision. Miesha Tate's a very good wrestler and grappler with technical striking. People forget that she is the former bantamweight champion of the world. She's pretty good everywhere, including jiu-jitsu off her back, and that is how she won the belt. She submitted Holly Holm off her back. Lauren Murphy is coming off that title loss to Valentina Shevchenko, but it's important to remember she legitimately earned that fight. It wasn't like they just put that together because Valentina smoked everybody. Lauren Murphy put together 5 solid wins in a row to earn that title shot, but she was beat pretty bad in that fight. But Lauren's a grinder. She's gritty. She's tough. She has incredible will and determination. She's just going to stick to a game plan. Wrestling and just muscle clinch work is her skill set, but her strongest asset is absolutely her sheer will to win. Her striking is a bit sloppy, but it is there, and it's in your face. Lauren's only path to victory in this fight, as is every other fight that she's in, is to just really bully. But the question is, can she bully Miesha Tate? because Miesha at 125 might be massive. We're not sure, right? She's a 135 pounder, was decent size there, looked jacked in her first fight back, and now she's dropping down 10 pounds. So we don't know if Lauren Murphy's going to be able to push her around. It's a really tough fight to pick because, again, it's Miesha's first fight at flyweight. So I have no idea how strong she'll be, what her cardio is going to be like. Is she going to be slower? We just don't know yet. So instead of trying to figure out what Miesha is going to look like, let's look at who beat Lauren Murphy and how they beat her. And she's got 5 losses in the UFC. Shevchenko dominated the striking and the grappling. Sijara Eubanks dominated the grappling. Liz Carmouche dominated the grappling. Sarah McMahon dominated the grappling. And Caitlin Chikagian just does whatever the hell she does. And my point here is if you take Lauren Murphy down, you remove the ability for her to bully you, you're going to win that fight. And I have to assume that Miesha Tate at 125 pounds will be strong, will be as good of a wrestler as she was at 135 pounds, and she might be able to do some of her own bullying here. So I think Miesha can come forward, work in the takedowns, and win a decision here. So, you know, anybody talking about Miesha Tate's old, used up, whatever, she's significantly younger in this fight, and I think she can win this fight. I do think the odds are a bit wide because Lauren Murphy's a proven entity at this weight class, and Miesha Tate is almost just moving weight classes to try to find a win. What do you think, Jakey boy?
I think that the weight cut is going to go perfect for her. If you look at her Instagrams, which I'm on there 6, 7, 8 times a day on her Instagram, just waiting for the next post, waiting for the next story, just sending messages after message. Miesha, if you're out there, please unlock or unblock my other account. I'm following you on a few other accounts, but my main account, if you will unblock me, I'd appreciate that. I could not believe she's only 35 years old. You mentioned the age gap. She is only 30. That's like the prime for most people. I mean, I'm in the prime of my life. I'm 35 years old. You know, so that was actually like the most surprising fact because as you mentioned, a lot of people think she's just old, washed up. And the reason I mentioned the weight cut and looking at her Instagram pictures and stuff like that, the other fighter that I'm going to compare her to that made the weight cut, made the drop in weight, and it looked fantastic, looked like they did it the right way. A lot of people do the weight cut, and they just try to just cut the extra weight, right? They don't change the way that their body is shaped and react, is Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo changed his entire body to go down 10 pounds of weight. He didn't just try to lose an extra 10 pounds, the week of the fight. Miesha Tate has changed. If you look at her picture, she has changed the way she looks to make this weight cut. She had changed her entire body. So it's going to be an easy weight cut for her. She's going to have the strength advantage. And when you look at Lauren Murphy, decent fighter, but you can just tell the way she moves. She's stiff. She's just not an athlete, right? She's someone that has figured out how to fight the way that she fights, but she's not an athlete, right? She doesn't do anything fluidly in exchanges. Everything just kind of stiff, and she really paid for that versus Shevchenko. Everything was real stiff, and Shevchenko's very fluid in there. And you look at the fights leading up to that title shot that she got. I mean, it's 2 split decision wins, a decision win versus Roxanne Modafferi, and then a submission win versus a girl that's 10-9. So I mean hats off to her for getting to that point, but the wins are not great wins. Not like she was putting people away. She's going to be completely overwhelmed and overmatched in this matchup versus an experienced, very high-level fighter in Miesha Tate. I can see Miesha, she's already talked about title shots. I think she's getting a little bit ahead of herself. She lost her last fight. But I think that she's in the weight class where she can definitely get that title shot again, and who knows what's going to happen. So I'm obviously biased to Miesha Tate, but I think she's very, very good and should dominate this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it should be interesting. I hope she does, right? I do. I hope she does. I would love a Miesha Tate title run, and, she's marketable. She's a name. It'll be interesting, to see her work back up where, Lauren Murphy, she had her chance. Fun fact, though, in Miesha Tate's second fight, the last one, the one that she just lost, you remember I picked Ketlin to win that fight. But you remember we went through MMA. Thank you so much. That's how we afford this new house. You remember MMA Junkie?
Oh, the truck.
I literally
Tell
recorded.
About the truck.
I recorded the screen.
I know you want to. Look at that smile.
I'm not going to tell strangers because I'm trying to get through this. We recorded the screen, and on MMA Junkie, literally, I don't know how many people they have doing picks. It's like 17, 18. Every single one picked Miesha Tate. Not one of them even went the other way to be different. And I think this is a similar situation. So I do think Miesha wins, but I think this is a similar situation where people are just ignoring the fact that Lauren Murphy is strong, jacked, and is just crushing people who are not the champion, where Miesha Tate's got some questionable losses in there.
So split decision wins and a decision win versus Roxanne. She's not crushing people. She's tough, but a lot of times when you say that someone's tough, it's because they're not good at anything. I mean, that's literally when people are like, oh, they're so tough. It's like, well, it's because they're not very good at anything. So,
yeah. All right. Well, $7,400 for Lauren Murphy, $8,800 for Miesha Tate. You know, I don't like these. I don't like these numbers. I really don't. What do you think of the DraftKings prices?
Neither one of them are mine. I don't like the 88 for Miesha. You know, if she gets some takedowns and stuff, but I would rather her at like, 6,900.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I agree. Like Lauren Murphy, 7,400. I'm just ignoring your filth.
I know you. I know you. You're so over it. I can tell you're just fucking like. Let's just fucking get through this.
It's like you're like a minefield. Just like constantly between the people super chatting me, getting me to like say horrible things by accident, and you just like with the sexual harassment lawsuits just waiting in the background. This is a minefield. Anyway.
Yeah, if
Lauren
any of
Murphy,
these female fighters
7,400
actually watch these videos at any point, it's not going to be good for us as a whole. I got the apologies ready.
Thank God, yeah, all right. Well,
there
anyway,
you go, Angela. What truck you got?
Lauren Murphy at 7,400. My personal life is nobody's business. Lauren Murphy at $7,400 is probably decent value if you think she can pull off the win. Miesha Tate at $8,800. I think she's overpriced, but I do think she wins. I'll probably spend that because we do have to spend the money on some favorites, and there's a lot that I don't like. Monkey Knife Fight Strike Line. We've been saying a lot of more. Like too many more. What like? Is this another more? It probably is.
Yeah,
is every fight in this card going to go to a decision?
Yeah, Lauren Murphy's tough. So, I mean, it's probably is a more.
Yeah, I just don't know if Miesha's going to get to 77, honestly. She looked bad in that Ketlin Vieira fight. Like, desperate. So, we'll see what happens. Guys, you want 50 free bucks? Go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. We send you $50 as a thank you. We have a $2 donation from Joey Todoro. I know you're not going to write anything to get me in trouble here. We know Jacob wants Lauren Salamander Murphy to win. Oh, Jacob would love Salamander, a woman that could just push him around.
Well, that would be Miesha. The Salamander would be hibernating in a night with Lauren.
There you go. There you go. Oh, Jesus Christ. Next up at UFC Long Island, we have Shane Burgos taking on Charles Air Jourdain. Shane Burgos, 14-3 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, coming off an incredible win over Billy Quarantillo. Charles Jourdain is 13-4 overall, 3-1-1 in his last 5, and he's coming off the submission win over Landa Venata about a month ago. Shane Burgos is a very good boxer who marches forward with high volume and pressure. He'll stay in the pocket and take one to give one. What makes him so effective is not only his chin and pressure, but he invests in the body and he wears his opponents down. Unfortunately, though, I cannot imagine Shane Burgos is going to have a very long career because he gets hit a ton. He absorbs, let's see, how many significant strikes per minute? He absorbs almost eight significant strikes per minute, which is an astronomical number. That is double the UFC
Sounds like me
average.
versus my ex-wife.
Charles Jourdain is also a fun come-forward striker who has a great chin. He's incredibly fast. He has great timing, and he's willing to take chances with spinning and flying attacks. He's coming off a very quick submission win over Landa Venata, and before that, his very first decision win of his career, and that was an awesome fight against Andre Ewell. Despite a handful of attempts, though, Charles has zero takedowns in his UFC career. A few weeks ago, BetOnline, and actually this past week, I think, right? BetOnline had the prop bet for fight of the night. And if they do that again for UFC Long Island, I think this is going to be my pick. I think I'm going to bet this fight for fight of the night because we have two high-volume strikers with solid chins and no real desire to grapple. What does surprise me here are the odds. Shane's almost, he's not quite a 2-1 favorite. And while I agree that Shane wins this fight, I think it's closer than that. Jourdain has proven to have very real power. Shane had that zombie knockout loss to Barboza last year, and he had a KO loss to Calvin Kattar before that. So I think Jourdain's going to be live for a stoppage, as he always is, but Shane's pressure, his volume, his numbers are absolutely insane. In his fight with Billy Quarantillo, he landed 232 strikes. His fight against Josh Emmett, he landed 148, and that was even after giving up a takedown. So Shane is the pick, but this is going to be a really fun fight, and I think it's a pretty close fight as well. People are asking if you have a wife. Again, guys, no. Look at him.
No, I said, because you mentioned the absorbed strikes, and I said, it sounds like you with my ex-wife because she used to beat the shit out of me. So, yeah, I just mentioned the Lauren Murphy, how people say that she's tough, and that means that you're not really good. You're more tough than you are good, you know. And I think both these guys are that. You know, I have no disrespect for Shane Burgos or Charles Jourdain, but a lot of people think that these are like these world-class fighters. I just think they're both just tough as hell, and obviously they're very skilled fighters in their own right, but they get beat a lot, they get knocked out, you know, but they're both just tough as hell, and this is an exciting, very, very fun matchup that I cannot wait for. I agree. I think the odds are wild for this. I think it's probably a pick'em fight. I see this as Shane Burgos is kind of a guy that seems like he starts fast, he kind of warms up, and then he kind of tails off, right? Where Charles Jourdain is a guy that kind of gets beat up early, and then kind of surges as the fight goes on. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys collide, and if there is that moment where, you know, Shane is winning, and then something happens in exchange, and then Charles able to bring that pressure that he's able to bring late in fights and maybe steal this fight late. You know, the only thing I really have in my notes for this fight, because it's going to be fun, it's going to be back and forth. It's such a tough fight to pick when people are so tough. This could look like the Michael Johnson and Jamie Malarkey fight where, you know, one person gets dropped and then they come back, the other person gets dropped, somebody wins a round, and after the fight's over, everyone's saying it's a robbery, but it's really a close fight. You know, Shane does have issues with the jab. A lot of those strikes absorb. It's just he doesn't have really good head movement. He just eats jabs, and then throws back. And he will eat a shot to give a shot, and a lot of times it's a powerful shot that he gives, but he does just eat jabs. And is Charles Jourdain going to take too much damage early from Shane to make that comeback that he's so well known? You know, I don't know what's going to happen in this fight. I got to pick Shane just because, honestly, I really don't know why. You know, maybe he's a little bit more technical, I guess, in the striking. He should be able to put, you know, some shots on Charles early, but you know, Charles Jourdain shows up and just starts throwing crazy volume and beats the shit out of Shane Burgos. It wouldn't surprise me at all as well. So I think these odds are crazy. Shane is not going to be in my lineup at 9,000. I don't think Charles is either at whatever value he is. Let me look again. Yeah, he's not in my lineup either, but it should be a fun matchup. My pick is Shane Burgos, but this is a pick 'em, guys.
Yep, we're pretty aligned here. I'm surprised you picked Shane. I expect you to pick Charles. So I'm surprised at that. But again, man, I hate these DraftKings prices. $9,000 for Shane Burgos. Charles Jourdain's all the value in DraftKings, especially with his stoppage record. I mean, you know, I don't love a lot of these favorites in DraftKings. I do think Shane wins this fight, but am I so confident in the fact that he's going to win that I'm going to blow out most of my budget? No, of course not. So I don't know what to do. I don't know what my DraftKings lineup is going to look like, but $9,000 is a lot of money to spend. What do you think?
No, I'm not going to spend it. I know I saw something on Twitter or somebody maybe in our Discord. Join our Discord if you haven't joined our Discord. We talk about fights all week. But somebody mentioned that Shane was, I think maybe he said that he was embarrassed about his last fight and didn't look the way he was. And he's undefeated in New York, I think, is another stat. And this is in Long Island, his hometown. He's a hometown kid. So he might come out, look inspired, and look fantastic. So I think that's why I'm more leaning on Shane than anything. But 9,000 is way too much.
Yeah, it's it'll be interesting. The strike line's interesting too. 126 to 94. Again, I read off the stats, right? He landed 232 strikes against Billy Quarantillo, 148 against Josh Emmett. So Shane Burgos is putting up these numbers, and this fight's expected to go the distance. So I get it, but it's also, how can you have a Charles Jourdain fight that you expect to go to the distance when the dude has 17 fights and 16 of them did not go the distance? So I think,
I actually think somebody finds a finish here. I think they really get after it. Main card,
100%.
Live fans. I think somebody finds a finish here. They both take so much damage.
No.
I know that people are tough until they're not tough. You just take so much damage, man. I feel like somebody's gonna get somebody.
I completely agree. I think if it's a 2.5 round fight, 2.5 round line, I may.
It is.
And what is do you have the odds in front of you?
-108 for under 2.5. So it's pretty much a pick 'em.
Yeah, I may grab that. I think it might there might legitimately be a stoppage, or it might be easier money to do the under on Monkey Knife Fight. That's a lot of strikes. And I know historically they've landed that, but they've historically landed that against other fighters that haven't put up those same numbers, right? Maybe if,
right. Yeah, these are equally as tough
opponents.
Yeah, they're both fighting the toughest opponent that they fought as far as like durability and stuff. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. But guys, you want to check out the Monkey Knife Fight strike line. If you feel strongly about that, go to WeWantPicks.com/MKF. Sign up. They will instantly match your deposit. And if you want 50 free bucks, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. We will send you 50 bucks as a thank you. Next up, at UFC Long Island, we have Matt Schnell taking on Sumudaerji. Matt Schnell, 15-7 overall, 2-3 in his last 5, and he's coming off that heartbreaking loss to Brandon Royval. Sumudaerji, fix these names, is 16-4 overall. I need to write them out phonetically. He's 16-4 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, riding a 3-fight win streak. Matt Schnell's a very good counter striker with solid BJJ, and he does a really good job of getting you to follow him. And as soon as you follow him, he plants his feet, he fires back with a combination. And he loves doing that off leg kicks as well. He'll end an exchange with a leg kick. He'll take a few steps back. You'll follow him, and then that whole cycle just repeats itself. His BJJ is slick, and he snatches things up and scrambles really well. But while he can be slick on the ground, he has almost no way to get it there. He has a 33% takedown accuracy and only 2 takedowns in the UFC. Sumudaerji is a fast striker with laser accuracy and solid volume. He doesn't have much power, but because he's so fast and his movement is so well timed, he can get stoppages. He's got plenty of cardio and a great in and out style, and he can out-decision most people who aren't looking to take him down. He has an impressive 100% takedown accuracy, but that's misleading because he only has 1 single takedown in the UFC. There's a fun striker versus striker matchup with 2 guys who fight very differently. Sumudaerji is looking to fight a fast, technical kickboxing match where Schnell will be looking to counter and just forward and hit you off that pressure. Mudaerji's sitting at the -260 odds you see here, and he's a pretty solid favorite, but I don't think you should sleep on Schnell. It's easy to look at his record and see he was submitted by Brandon Royval 2 months ago, but if you remember, he dropped Royval early, and it looked like he was going to get the KO win before he was caught in that guillotine. So this fight is going to be decided by who can impose their striking style, and I think the forward pressure and volume of Mudaerji will be better than the weight and counter style of Schnell. But like so many other fights on this card, I think this should be much closer than the odds. So Mudaerji's the pick. If you're talking bets, Matt Schnell might be a solid +3.5 play here, right? If you think he could win 1 round on the judges' scorecard, you'll buy another round, and then you'll hit your bet. I don't know. I haven't placed that yet, but if you think Matt Schnell is live and can win a round, these are the exact type of odds where you'll get some favorable stuff there. So if you think so, you're only going to get the buy a round prop bet if you go to weonpicks.com/bets. 5 different partners. BetOnline is the one and only partner that offers that. And if you want to sign up, make a deposit, we will send you 50 bucks as a thank you. What do you think, Jakey boy?
Yeah, I like Matt Schnell. I think he's probably a pretty underrated fighter in this division. You mentioned that last fight. He actually lost his mom during the training camp for that fight. Almost just didn't even fight at all, but thought, you know what, let me push through this, and came out and was super, super aggressive and had Royval in big, big trouble. I mean, Brendan Royval was on the ground scrambling for his life, got dropped, and was able to, I mean, that's what Brendan Royval does, man. He scrambles and finds positions and was able to find that submission, and you could see the absolute defeat in Matt Schnell, because that was a tough fight mentally for him to get up for, and was winning the fight, and then got caught in that guillotine. I kind of see this the same way as the Ricky Simone Jack Shore fight, in the way that Matt Schnell is not going to win a 3-round decision versus Sumudaerji. Sumudaerji? Is that good? Will that not get me canceled if I say Sumudaerji? Is that good? Is that close enough? I don't think he's going to win a 3-round decision. Yeah, I was kind of looking for you to kind of chime in there, but I'll just keep rolling with it. I don't think he can win a 3-round decision. I think his best bet is to come through first round, sell out, try to turn this into a brawl, maybe find a way to get this fight to the ground, because he should have the grappling advantage in this fight. You saw Sumudaerji's losses, I think, are all submissions, so I know a lot of people in the chat are like, oh my God, Matt Schnell by sub. But Sumudaerji is a very, very good fighter. You mentioned his in and out style. He's very, very slick with his in and out. You know, I watched one of his last fights. I can't remember his last one or the one before that, where they were talking about how good he is at baiting people into shots. He will throw a jab, wait for you to counter. If you don't counter, he'll just be patient with it, and he sets up shots waiting for your big shot, and that's what he's slick with, his in and out, and waits for those power shots. I think Matt Schnell comes out, I think his best path to victory is to be aggressive, but also that puts him at most risk, because Sumudaerji is very good in those counter shots and with his power, and I just see Matt Schnell coming across, being aggressive, and Sumudaerji just knocking him out, unfortunately. So I'm Sumudaerji all the way. I think I have him in my DraftKings as well. He's one of those high-value guys. He is in my lineup. At $9,100, I think he's worth the play. He should be the better striker in the matchup, and I don't think the fight gets to the ground where Matt Schnell could shine. So I'm Sumudaerji all the way in this matchup. I think he finds the knockout. Unfortunately, I'm a big Matt Schnell guy. Just a tough matchup for him.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a big Matt Schnell guy, too. I was picking him against Alex Perez in all those fights that fell through. Just because I like the counter style. But I do think Sue gets this done. He's one of the few favorites who's probably worth the money, the $9,100. But, Matt Schnell, Matt Schnell's tricky because Matt Schnell's always a live underdog. I think he's a live underdog in every fight that he's in, right? I don't think he's ever been matched up where you're like, oh, he's going to get blown through. Like, he's a very good fighter. But I do think Sue is just too fast, too technical, too slick. And I think he gets this done. So I'm not going to bet him. If you think Matt Schnell can win a single round, that bet I mentioned earlier, you're going to get some solid odds there. But I will probably do the $9,100 in DraftKings. Because again, not a lot of fighters I like at these price points. And he is one of them. Monkey Knife Fight Strike Line, I think it's more and more. I think this fight goes a little longer. I think they'll be touching each other. And it is counter striker versus solid offensive striker. So hopefully they're not just staring at each other, because they'll both be trying to set traps left and right. I think I do think they'll engage quite a bit, and I could see a more and more Monkey Knife Fight. What do you think?
Plus 130 and that plus 3.5 for Matt Schnell. I don't love that value, but if you want to play it, hats off to you.
Plus probably 130 coming down from plus 220, and all he needs to do is win one round. That's actually not bad at all.
I think he gets knocked out.
Anyway, you guys want $50? You know what to do.
Want to bet?
Picks.com/
Bitch boy?
bets. Bet what?
Oh yeah, you picked Sumudaerji. I kind of jumped down your throat there. Sorry about that. I apologize. I'm looking for a bet. Usually I like making money off you. We haven't had one to bet on yet.
We will find one. Shut up.
Might be this next one. Oh, let's do it this one. That's it. Go ahead.
I hope we're on opposite sides. I would love to.
Oh, we are.
Done. Bet.
Done. Here
Next
we go.
Up at
Lock
UFC
it in, chat. Come on.
Next up at UFC Long Island, we have Jingliang Li taking on Muslim Salikhov. Jingliang is 18-7 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, coming off the loss to Khamzat Chimaev last year. Muslim Salikhov is 18-2 overall, 5-0 in his last 5, coming back after more than a year away. Jingliang's a very good boxer with solid volume and very real power. He mixes in low kicks to slow you down before sending those power hands right over the top. But as solid as his striking is, he does have holes in his grappling, and he's not a complete fish out of water, but his 58% takedown defense may get tested here against Muslim Salikhov. But Muslim Salikhov is a solid striker who hits very hard, and he does have that wrestling in his back pocket if he needs it. And seeing how Jingliang lost his last fight, he might just go to that first. He holds nothing back, and almost every single strike is a significant strike from Muslim. For example, in his last win against Trinaldo, he landed 71 total strikes, every kind of strike. And 62 of them were significant. So in a fight with 2 takedowns and 3 minutes of control time, only 9 strikes were not significant. He's really solid takedown defense, solid takedown offense, and great striking. I love Muslim Salikhov. A few months ago, when I broke down the Chimaev versus Burns fight, anecdotally, I said this will be a tough test for Chimaev. He has not beaten anyone who could sniff the top 10. I said something like that. People lost their minds. A whole world of Jingliang fans just rushed to the comments section to say, Jingliang's in the top, whatever. Jingliang. So people... It was one of the most ludicrous support trains I've ever seen in my entire life. And I hope every single one of those absolute clowns bets on Jingliang here, because I want to shrink this line. I think Muslim smokes him. I think he can almost do whatever he wants. Muslim's the pick. I'm happy to bet you in this fight. And Jingliang's a very talented fighter. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on him. It was just the absurdity of the people in the comment section pretending that when Jingliang was fighting Chimaev, that all of a sudden he was top 3 in the world when it was absurd. It made no sense. Sometimes the people in the comments are a bit trollish. Jacob, please tell me you're on the other side here, because I'd love to bet you.
I wasn't going to be on the other side, but what the hell, we're coming off an undefeated week. Let's get a little bit wild in this matchup. You want to do the 150 bet that we usually typically do? 100 if Lee wins for me, and 50
Yeah, but
if
it shouldn't
Muslim
be
wins
50. It shouldn't be, minus 175. All right, 150, fine.
Yeah, we did that. Remember, the odds weren't favor for me last week, but we still did it. And I end up winning the bet, by the way, as I typically do. Listen, the safe play is obviously Muslim. I'm not going to sit here and make a big case for Lee and say that you should bet on Lee and this and that. My pick before, I just want to bet Angelo. So honestly, my pick would be Muslim in this matchup. He should win this fight. He's a better fighter, overall fighter, than Lee. But when I watch Lee, man, that dude does some weird shit, and he throws heat from weird angles, and he's constantly moving, and his hands are doing weird stuff. You watch that fight versus Ponzinibbio. Ponzinibbio is a much better fighter and a much better striker than Lee. Ponzinibbio was like frozen in front of him because of all the weird feints and movement that Lee was putting in front of him. And all of a sudden, he's moving this, he's moving that, he's feinting this, he's feinting takedowns, feinting level changes. And all of a sudden, that big shot is there and just absolutely put his lights out. I think it was like a weird left hook from a weird angle that caught him, and then he jumped on him. The pick is Muslim. But I'll bet you, Angelo, that Lee finds a weird knockout, because that dude throws absolute heat, and he is nonstop moving, nonstop feint. So I'll bet you on this fight. I'll even make my pick Lee. I don't care at this point. We'll get crazy with it. If you guys want to be safe, Muslim is definitely the play. I'll take Lee. I'll take the money on him. I'm not going to bet the books for Lee, but I'll have fun and bet Angelo for him. I think he's weird enough to find a weird knockout. The guy throws heat and does weird stuff. Let's go with Lee. Let's have some fun.
All right, well, the bet's locked in. And people are confusing my trash talking with... I have nothing against Jingliang. I think he's a good fighter. But the way people came from my head when I said he's nowhere near the top 10 made no sense to me. Like, what a weird argument. What a weird hill to die on, trying to convince the world that a man who was held in the air while Chimaev was just talking to people, is top 10 in the world. It was such.
But if he would have landed that shot that he threw, that Chimaev ducked under, I don't think people realize how hard he threw that. I'm not obviously I'm not saying like
every single fight,
but that was like
if
that was
could
like
have landed a
Jesus
shot.
Christ. Yeah, he's gonna land it this one.
He's a good fighter, but when people were going out of their way to like scream and yell that Jingliang's top 10, it made no sense to me. Anyway, I love Muslim here, so I'll bet you $100 instead of the books Fine with
and let me make it clear.
$8,600.
I'm not putting money against the books for Lee. I would not pick Lee. My pick, I have it highlighted as Muslim as my pick, but my official pick, I'll still go with Lee. And but I wouldn't listen to me, honestly.
I can't wait till some buffoon's going to be like, you picked Lee. I don't understand. What do you mean you went 12-0? Anyway.
No, I'll take it as a loss. I'll take it as a loss.
8,600.
I'll find that.
Then what's the point? You picked like you're going to lose no matter what then. Congratulations. $8,600. Muslim will be in my DraftKings lineup. What about you?
No.
Okay. Gotcha. I do love in my DraftKings lineup. The ability to get the takedowns, the striking, I think it's solid. Monkey Knife Fight strike line 52-67. I think it honestly is probably a less. Jingliang tends to throw with that big power. Muslim is a solid striker. He also hits hard, but he may go to that wrestling. I'm not necessarily saying I think there's going to be a stoppage, but I do think they will stay under that strike line. What do you think?
I think it probably is a less. I like that a lot because, as you mentioned, Lee will just throw heat, and he does a lot of just standing and feinting. So it's probably a less. Because I think Muslim, it takes him a little bit to figure out what's this line at, actually. If this is a 1.5, I don't know why it would be, but I don't know why it would be, but that's a 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 145, but yeah.
Yeah,
it's
so
gonna
the
take a while to figure out
to go the distance. I think it'll go the distance as well, but I do think the less in the monkey knife fight strike line is pretty solid. You don't know what it is. It's top 5 dumbest names in all of fantasy, but it is daily fantasy, and all you need to do is say, well, he didn't name it. All you need to do is say more or less on these strike lines, and if you're right, you can triple your money. You can even put some of them together and 25 times your money. Ton of fun, super easy. WeWantPicks.com/MKF. They will instantly match your deposit. Give them 20, they'll give you 20. 100, they'll give you 100. And if you want 50 free bucks to kickstart that, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. We have 5 different betting partners. Sign up, make a deposit. We will send you 50 bucks as a thank you. Next up at UFC Long Island, we have the co-main event of the evening. We have Michelle Waterson, the karate hottie, taking on Amanda Lemos. Michelle Waterson's 18-9 overall, 2-3 in her last 5, and she's coming back after about a year away from the cage. Amanda Lemos is 11-2 overall, 4-1 in her last 5. Coming off that early submission loss to Jessica Andrade, Michelle Waterson, a.k.a. the Karate Hottie, is a talented fighter who has been a professional for an incredible 15 years. She's got tons of cage time with some of the best to ever do it. She's fought multiple champions like Rose Namajunas, Carla Esparza, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and she has wins over solid opponents like Angela Hill, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, Felice Herrick when she was good, and other women who are sitting just outside that top 10. Style-wise, she's a slick striker who uses kicks and distance really well with wrestling in her back pocket. She's got 20 takedowns in her last 13 fights, and despite the 33% accuracy, she can time her shots pretty well. Amanda Lemos is a Muay Thai striker with fast hands and a ton of power. She does a very good job keeping her fights at Muay Thai range to avoid those takedowns. She has a solid 88% takedown defense and has only been taken down 1 time in the UFC. Even in her submission loss to Andrade, she defended the takedown. She was submitted on her feet. And despite her last 2 performances, Amanda Lemos has power in her hands. She's dangerous on the ground, and she's a tough outing for almost anybody in this division. I like Michelle Waterson a lot, but I just don't see her winning this fight. For her to beat Amanda, she would need to stick and move for an entire 15 minutes. And that's exactly what she needed to do in her last fight against Marina, and she couldn't do it there. So I just don't think she's going to be able to do it here. So she's very tough. I don't necessarily think there's going to be a stoppage, but I think Amanda's power, her takedown defense, her volume of 5 significant strikes landed per minute, I think all of those things combined will get it done. So Lemos is the pick. And it's probably safe to put her in parlays. And what's amazing is the line movement here, dude. Amanda Lemos, when I did this on Sunday, was like a minus 700 favorite. It was something crazy. And now she's already all the way down to minus. Yeah. And now she's down to minus 315 because people love Michelle Waterson, which I totally. Dude, Michelle Waterson is ridiculously talented. She's very, very good. But flyweight, man, she should be at 115, not 125. She needs to stick and move the entire time. She's losing. She doesn't have wins over those top 10 opponents. She's beating everybody outside the top 10. So I just think always a bridesmaid, never a bride type situation for Michelle Waterson. So I'm going Amanda Lemos, and man, minus 315, that flexed all the way down from the 700s. I'll take it. What do you think?
Yeah, and unfortunately, Michelle Waterson, Karate Hottie, shout out to Karate Hottie. She's another one of those fighters that at this point in her career, she's tough, right? She's very, very tough, and she'll probably be there for all 3 rounds against Amanda. But, at this point, I agree with you, Angela. I just don't see a path to victory for Amanda. And trust me, I want to look for it, because with those odds and how tough she is, if there's a little bit of a path to victory, you can see putting some money on the underdog in this matchup. But, Amanda is just so well versed. And let me preface this first by saying I'm a big Amanda fan, and I'm a big Andrade hater. That was the luckiest bullshit submission. I've a standing arm triangle. Get the fuck out of here. She was going to dominate that fight on her way to a title shot. And I think the UFC recognizes the talent in Amanda Lemos, where instead of losing that fight and putting her up against a dangerous prospect or another fight where she could lose, I think they said, you know what, let's give her a name, give her the co-main, let's give her an opportunity to really shine and show the world who Amanda Lemos is. That way, when she gets to that title shot again, people know who she is. They put her as the co-main for a reason against an opponent she should absolutely dominate. That's no disrespect to Michelle Waterson, the Karate Hottie. She's very tough and very good fighter, but Amanda Lemos is that next level fighter. I always talk about the next level. Amanda Lemos is that next level. Next level power. She carries that power throughout 3 rounds. I know she's seen like she has some cardio issues at time, in that Angela Hill fight, but she handled her own in that fight as well. She is that next level fighter. She should absolutely dominate this fight, and that's why the odds are the way they are. So, Karate Hottie, nothing against you. After the fight, I'll put some ice on those bruises for you, but this is Amanda Lemos all the way. I got her in my DraftKings lineup.
Yeah, Karate Hottie, I saw her years ago on American Ninja Warrior. She fell immediately, unfortunately, like literally fell on the first jump. So that was a little embarrassing. But $6,800, $9,400. Amanda Lemos is one of the few expensive fighters I do believe in. $9,400. That's a lot. That's asking for a stoppage, but I don't think it's absurd that she gets a stoppage. Like, I don't think it's that ridiculous. Michelle Waterson's very, very good, but I feel like she's in the paycheck portion of her career and not the, looking for a title run portion of her career. And that's no offense to her. By all means, hope she makes enough money to support her family for a very long time and retire. But when it comes to picking fights, I got to go with the hungry fighter.
Yeah, and I agree with the stoppage. I think if anyone is going to finish Karate Hottie, it's probably going to be Amanda Lemos, honestly.
Yeah, and we'll see what that loss does to her, right? Like, obviously it wasn't her first loss ever, but it was her first important loss. So we'll see what that does to her. She may come out, just ready, just changing things.
Oh, she'll be ready.
And ready to put on a show. So $9,400. I will probably spend that. The Monkey Knife Fight strike line, 76 to 67. That is saying there's a decision, right? That's saying Michelle Waterson, one of the few times where the underdog is expected to land more strikes. She's going to dance around and touch up, and that's what she does. But I just think Amanda's going to be too much here. I don't think Michelle's going to hit that rhythm. I don't think she's going to have the time to dance around. So I think it's a less situation. I think there may be some grappling here. And certainly there's going to be big power from Amanda. And if she's landing all that power, she's not going to need to get the 67. But if she's throwing big power, it's going to be lower volume. So I think it's another might go to a decision, but still be less Monkey Knife Fight situation. What do you think?
I think you're probably right.
And we have questions in the live chat. This fight is at 125 pounds, not 115, which is Michelle Waterson's, natural weight class. So, but she's coming back after a year away. So lots of stuff going on here, but both on the Lemos side, I was wrong with how drastic the line movement was. It was like from minus 500 to minus 300, but that's still some solid movement. A lot of money came in on Waterson there. I get it. Tried and true vet. I just don't think it's going to happen here.
You know what's funny is as you said that, I looked at it online. It was minus 320, and then I clicked on it, and now it's minus 310. So it just moved right now.
There you go. See? Yep. And again, this fight is at 125, 125, not 115.
Uno,
WeOnPicks.com/bet. Sign up, make a deposit. We'll send you $50 as a thank you. Next up at UFC Long Island, we have the main event of the evening. We have Brian Ortega taking on Yair Rodriguez. And Brian Ortega is 15-2 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, and he's coming off that failed title attempt to Alexander Volkanovski. Yair Rodriguez is 13-3 overall, 2-2-1 in his last 5, coming off that close loss to Max Holloway. Brian Ortega is a phenomenal grappler. He doesn't have very good wrestling. It's a low 24% accuracy. Don't get me started and ranting on how absurd it is that you're that good on the ground and you have no way to get it there. That annoys me more than any skill set gap in MMA. But anyway, if Brian Ortega is able to tie you up, able to get you to the ground, you're definitely going to be in some trouble. He has solid offensive striking, but his defense needs a little bit of work. He's hit with almost 7 significant strikes per minute, which is a very high number. He's hot and cold in his fights, which makes breaking him down kind of hard, right? You don't know what you're going to get. He looked like a lion against Frankie Edgar, a sheep against Max, a lion against Korean Zombie, and then a sheep against Volkanovski. You just don't know what Brian Ortega you're going to get, but you do know that no matter what, he will be very dangerous on the ground. Yair Rodriguez was a surging up-and-comer. He came into the UFC. He made a wild splash. He put together a really nice win streak, and then he lost to Frankie Edgar. He bounced back with a great win over Korean Zombie and then Jeremy Stevens. And then, it just sort of died, right? He took 2 years off after that to deal with a whole bunch of stuff. And then he came back and fought Max. He's a fun, athletic guy who's going to spin kick his way to KO and entertain you the entire time he's in the cage. We saw the statistic last week when they were hyping this fight. It said something like Yair Rodriguez has the most Fight of the Night awards since 2014 or something like that. And he's tough to deal with, though, because his striking is so unpredictable and you just don't know what you're going to get. And even if it does open him up for takedowns, he's solid enough on the ground that he can throw up a submission or at least create scrambles and then stand back up. Both of these guys are coming off main event losses, but I think they looked very different in those fights. Yair Rodriguez, I thought he looked incredible against Max. I get it, he lost and it was a decision, a clear one, but I thought he looked incredible. He was dynamic. He was landing well. And if he wasn't taken down, he may have won that fight. Brian Ortega didn't look very good in his loss against Alexander. He did drop him. He did almost pull off that submission. So on paper, you see, wow, he dropped him. Oh yeah, he almost had that mounted guillotine, but that was it. That was literally the only success he had in a 25-minute fight. He was outclassed almost the entire time. And I think I like Yair here. I totally understand that if this hits the ground, there's going to be a large skill gap. But I think there's an even larger skill gap while they're on their feet. Styles make fights, and I think that the dynamic striking of Yair is going to be a problem for Ortega. Volkanovski and Max were both able to dominate the striking because they don't sit still. They don't plant. They don't give Brian any time to try to slow it down and grapple. And I think Yair's exactly the same, just constant movement, lots of power. And this time out, he's not going to have 2 years of ring rust to shake off like he did against Max. So I like Yair to win this fight. And if you want to say, well, hey, Max Holloway took Yair Rodriguez down 3 times, Brian's going to be able to take him down, and that's going to be a problem. If that's true, that's a true statement, and you have a very valid point there. But I think Yair was taken down the way he was because he was not expecting it. Who was expecting Max Holloway to shoot more takedowns than he has ever shot in his entire life? Nobody was. Not even Yair Rodriguez. But coming into this fight, he absolutely is expecting Brian Ortega to take some shots and try to get it to the ground. So I like Yair to win this fight, and I do have a moneyline bet on him to win. I was just really impressed against Max, but maybe that's the trap of Max, right? The dude gets hit so much, he can make anybody look good, even if he wins. What do you think, Jakey boy?
There's one thing that I want to mention off the rip, and I think that's Brian Ortega's striking. I think is pretty underrated as a whole. I know that he does get hit, he takes damage, but he has some pretty slick boxing, slips stuff well, throws counters well, and has a pretty good jab as well. There's 2 question marks for this fight, and everything resides with Brian Ortega, I think. I think Yair is who he is. He's a good, powerful striker. The question marks for Brian Ortega is first of all, how does he bounce back from that second title loss defeat? Because it's hard sometimes to re-motivate yourself after one, right? Maybe after one, you get that taste and you really taste and you push yourself to get that second one. You get the second opportunity, and the way that he lost that, where he was so close, he had his special mounted guillotine, and then after that, he puts him in a triangle, has the full triangle. He slips out, and then after that, he puts him in a darce. It's like the opportunities were there for him to win the fight, and it slips through his fingers. And sometimes for people that can motivate you more, and sometimes that can absolutely break you as a fighter. Like, I was so close. I was so close, not only once but twice. I was there. And how does he respond to that? I know typically after losses he's bounced back and looked great, but that's such a tough loss, and that he's taken so much damage too in those losses as well, that it'll be interesting to see how he bounces back mentally through his training camp. The second question mark for Ortega is, has he implemented wrestling? You mentioned he's so good on the ground, but he cannot get fights to the ground. You know, his relationship with Tracy Cortez. Tracy Cortez is known for her wrestling. She showed off how good her wrestling is against Melissa Gatto in her last fight, controlling wrestling. With those two, maybe the camp has been really wrestling focused, and he comes out and is able to get those takedowns. And maybe if he comes out and is able to get those takedowns, he should absolutely dominate this fight if he can get those takedowns, get the back, control the fight. So if he comes out and is able to get the takedowns and win this fight, I'm not going to be surprised at all, because he has that advantage that you mentioned on the ground. But Yair Rodriguez, the striking that he possesses and the power that he possesses, some of those strikes that he landed on Max Holloway. I sent you a clip the other day, or yesterday or today, whenever it was, of a combination he landed against Max Holloway. It was a head kick with a straight, just 1-2 snap Max Holloway's head back. Brian Ortega, as tough as he is not going to be able to eat the shots that Max Holloway ate in that matchup. There's just the damage that he's taken up to this point. He is not going to be able to eat the shots and the power from Yair Rodriguez. So, is Brian going to be able to implement the wrestling? Up to this point, he has shown that he has not been able to. So I cannot put money in my pick in something that Brian Ortega has not shown up to this point. Can he still hang with Yair in the boxing? Maybe, for a few rounds, but I just think the power advantage for Yair with the striking is just going to be way too much for Brian Ortega. So I'm a big Brian Ortega fan. I love Brian Ortega. I wouldn't even try to mess with I love Tracy Cortez, but, I think they're perfect together. Brian, you got a great girl. I'm not going to step in between that relationship, but I just think in the striking he's going to be overwhelmed, and I just haven't seen his ability to get the fight to the ground without something weird happening. The reason the fight got to the ground, I think, as you mentioned, was Ortega. It was more, Volkanovski. It was more of a slip than anything, and he took advantage of the opportunity. He's very opportunistic with his jiu-jitsu, but without the pure wrestling and be able to shoot takedowns, get the fight to the ground, Yair, I think, is going to be way too much on the feet. So I was surprised that he honestly was the underdog in this matchup. I'll probably put some money line bet on him as well, and I just think the power is going to be way too much for Brian, but we'll see what happens. If Brian, gets a submission win, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I'm surprised he did that. Of course he's well. No,
I completely agree. If Brian learns how to wrestle, all of a sudden he's crazy dangerous. And it's funny, the comment section's wild. You guys are definitely split. One comment here from Jester: Ortega has never been finished. 2 losses by former and current champions. Y'all nuts. Who the hell are Volkanovski and Holloway finishing? They're not finishers. They're not finishers. Yeah, obviously everybody has a finisher too. They're not finishers. It's not shocking that they couldn't finish Brian Ortega.
And I absolutely hate when people say, "Oh, he has." Nobody is ever finished until they're finished, right? I mean, that's literally how it goes. You're never finished, and then all of a sudden you get finished. So just because you've never been finished doesn't mean you can't get finished. You just haven't been yet. I mean, look at Tony Ferguson. Look at, all those people. I mean, you probably get finished. It just happens.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Brian Ortega, by far the more dangerous fighter on the ground. Yair Rodriguez, by far the more dangerous fighter on their feet. And as very simply, if Brian Ortega can get it to the down, he probably wins. Can he get it to the ground? Well, he's proven that he can't. And that's literally how I got to my pick. That's just literally how I did it. So, frankly, if he has worked on his wrestling and he plugged those gaps, he's a very dangerous guy. Because as you said, his striking has improved. His striking's solid, but it's nowhere near as good as Rodriguez's. And I have to assume Yair Rodriguez is pretty solid on the ground, too. It's not like he's getting submitted left and right. Like, if he's not, a pure boxer. He's not Floyd Mayweather. You take him to the ground, he's screwed, right? So, anyway, I'm actually very
Floyd's
surprised
pretty
that
underrated
you and I
on the
are...
ground.
Okay. I'm very surprised you and I are on the same side here. Genuinely surprised.
Well,
Yair Rodriguez, 77.
I'm a huge Ortega guy. I just.
You're not huge. You're 5'6". $7,700. Yair Rodriguez will be in my DraftKings lineup. My favorite comment this week is someone's like, "Oh, Jacob's gonna hold that 11-0 over Angelo's head." And I was just like,
well, the best part is once we get big and famous and people start seeing me in public, they're going to be like, holy shit, you're a lot bigger than I thought, which is going to feel great for me. Because you literally are like putting the level at like, they're going to be like, oh, wow. And they're all going to be like looking up at me. Can I get your autograph?
Yeah, because I am making you sound like a tiny, like you're not, we are very different sizes.
Taller,
but
I'm taller than the average person for sure. When I walk in a crowd of people, I'm taller than most people.
In what country? Not in America. Not in the South.
Every time I walk out here. Every time I walk by this middle school, I see over all of them.
Exactly. And then you're quickly escorted out of there by the police.
Yeah, anytime I'm hanging anytime I'm hanging around the middle school playground, I could see all of them.
Anyway, $7,700 in DraftKings. I do think I like Yair quite a bit. The Monkey Knife Fight strike line, I do think this goes, right? I don't think it may not go the full distance, but I do think this fight will go quite a bit. I think it'll be exciting. There'll be some back and forth. Ortega might end up diving at legs, but Ortega has shown that he is willing to exchange. He doesn't get desperate with his shots. They're just not very good when he attempts them, but he will exchange. So I'm going to take a look at how many strikes Ortega landed against Volkanovski. And if it's over 100, this is an easy more for me. If it's not, then maybe a less more. What do you think of the Monkey Knife Fight strike line?
I just don't see Brian Ortega getting hit in the face 123 times. And I mean, Yair throws heat, guys. You watch some of those combinations he threw against Max. I'm convinced Max doesn't even have a brain in his head. Because he just snapped. Just wow. There's a reason Max was wrestling, guys.
Wasn't Ortega the one that Max was like hitting in the face, and then he grabbed Ortega's hands and held it up to show him how to block a punch?
Yeah, the most disrespectful shit I've ever seen. What, in like the fourth round, I guess it didn't go the fifth round. The fourth round, he literally stops Ortega, and Ortega literally stops throwing punches, and Max is like, when I throw this, put your hand here. When I throw this, and then Ortega's like, all right, get the fuck off me. Like, what are you doing? But they literally stopped fighting, and Max is giving him a boxing lesson in the middle. It was literally the most disrespectful shit I've ever seen in my life. Yeah,
after Jester talking about nobody stops Brian Ortega. What a buffoon, Jester. Come on, man. Get your act together. This is unbelievable. Guys,
does not go the distance. It's minus 150, by the way.
So they do think there's a stoppage here, which frankly makes sense, right? It's either standing or on the ground. Somebody's going to get stopped. You guys want 50 free bucks? Go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners, and we will send you 50 bucks as a thank you. You want to test out Monkey Knife Fight? WeWantPicks.com/MKF. It's daily fantasy. It's easy, fun, legal. WeWantPicks.com/MKF. They will instantly match your deposit. Any parting words for the people before I hang up and put on some chapstick because I am dry.
Everyone watching right now. How many people are watching right now? We got almost 200, over 200 people in here. Like the fucking stream, you assholes. That's all I got. And subscribe.
Thanks.
Subscribe if you're new.
There goes the monetization on this video. Thank you for that. Guys, appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out. And we'll see you later this week for all of the other things. See ya.